Hello there, my name is Michael Tonis and we're looking at Blender 2.5 Alpha 0. If you are new to Blender or new to 3D animation, I think you'll really like Blender. This version of Blender has some dramatic interface improvements over previous versions. Not everybody's happy with all the changes from 2.49, but I think that overall, having taught Blender for many years, this is a far easier application to learn for the beginner and has far more in common with other industry applications, so I think it's a good place to start. So even though it's an alpha version, I think your best bet is to start here with Blender 2.5 if you're new to Blender. So what we'll do right here is we're going to get started right away doing something. We'll have time to go over all the buttons and everything that Blender can do in the many lessons ahead. But to begin with, we get this splash screen and we're just going to click off of that, and you're looking at the default interface, and this gray box in the middle here, this is our 3D view. This is the little space in which everything happens. And if you click your middle mouse button and drag it around, click it and hold it and drag it around, you can see how that 3D view works. Okay, so you've got a couple of objects in here. Now if you don't have a middle mouse button, if you will hold down the Alt key and the left mouse button, that will help you navigate around. And I'm going to pull in a little helper window here. It's going to show you what I'm doing with the mouse. I'm going to hold the Alt and the left button, or I'm going to hold the middle button. And I have a scroll wheel on my mouse. If I roll that scroll wheel, I can roll that scene in and out. So just a little bit of the controls. We'll get more into those controls later. What I want to show you now is what you've got in the scene, and what we need to do to select these items is right click on them. So I do a right mouse click. Again, that's the right button. That's a little different than what you might be used to with other applications. Right mouse click, right mouse click. Now notice over here we saw something happening. I'm going to drag the mouse cursor over this divider, get this little double arrow. I'm going to click and hold with the left button and pull down, and we have a little outliner here. This is a little file tree of all the parts of this Blender scene right here that is in the 3D view. We have our camera, and I'm going to left click on that, have our cube and our lamp. So there's two ways to select. We can select over here in our outliner, and we can right mouse select over here in our viewport. Okay, and there are other ways to select, and we'll get into that later, but that's enough to get you started. Now, one of the first things that I'd like to show you how to do here, I'm using the scroll wheel to zoom in. Okay, if you don't have a scroll wheel on your mouse, then you can use the plus key on the number pad and the minus key on the number pad. I really do recommend having a keyboard with a number pad. And now I want to show you how to move this cube. Note it's selected. It has a bright orange highlight around it. We're going to come down to the toolbar here, and there's a little icon here that looks like a three-pointed star. It's got a blue, red, and green leg to it. We're going to click on that, and you'll notice that we now have a manipulator with a blue, green, and red arrow, and they correspond to the red and green lines on this grid, which is our floor, so to speak, in Blender. That is, think of it like a piece of graph paper. Now let's left click on an arrowhead, hold and drag, and release. Left click on an arrowhead, hold, drag, and when you have it where you want, release. And also with the red. So you are now moving this object in 3D space. And practice that a little bit, and then in the next lesson we will do some rotation and some scaling and start looking at adding objects.